Hi, namaste, and welcome to Breakout with me, Abha. Thank you so much for watching. We are talking about the art of making and breaking rules. Now, my guest today is an exceptional human being, a very powerful influencer today, a thorough gentleman who has broken rules, made new rules, started so many different trends. He has created and built massive communities across the globe, and he has influenced innumerable minds with his simplistic but practically powerful ideas around life and business. We have seen him, we have heard him, we have read him, but we still cannot have enough of him. You can see him on my right side. Yes, the social media guru, the marketing genius, the best-selling author of 13 books, brand ambassador for the Mercedes-Benz USA, on the board of trustees of the Wikimedia Foundation, executive fellow of the Haas School of Business, the former chief evangelist of Apple, and now the chief evangelist of Canva. Please welcome Guy Kawasaki. Guy, thank you so much for your time. Very grateful.
Sure, it's quite a mouthful there.
It's all about you. So there was more. I think I've just done a little bit of it. So thank you very much for your time. Guy, tell me, we live in a very overcomplicated world, and more the confusion, the smarter we feel, more the problems, the more busy and intelligent we feel. And then Guy Kawasaki comes along and he says, cut the crap. Let us keep it simple. Let us optimize. And if I can say so, with your book, The Art of the Start, you've busted myths around entrepreneurship. With The Art of Social Media, you've set benchmarks when it comes to social media. In your, drive your competition crazy. You make business and competition sound like fun. Then you were like, the ape is like putting holes into the publishing sector. Now you got Canva, which is actually revolutionizing the design space. Now, this conversation is about breakouts. So please share with us the massive possibilities that lie in simplification, simplifying and cutting out the jargon, breaking out of the jargon.
Well, to break rules and to jump curves as opposed to simply doing the same thing slightly better, you need to communicate. You need to communicate to the people you work for, the people you work with, the people who work for you, your shareholders, your customers, your vendors, your partners, and communication comes down to simplification. So, I very seldom sat through a presentation that I thought was too simplistic. Most of the time, I've sat through presentations that are overly complex. So, if you have a simple, clear presentation, and then the people who are interested will ask for more. But if you have a complex presentation that people don't understand, you're just going to try to get it over with as fast as possible.
I get that. So in the process, Guy, to simplify the whole thing, you have democratized the whole thing and making it...
1 second.
No problem.
I almost didn't get cross.
Good. I'm on an interview right now, Nate.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, I can see you. Hi.
Sorry.
What's your name?
His name is Nate.
All right. Okay, so can I go ahead with it now?
Yes.
Okay, Guy, you've democratized the whole thing in such a way that you've made it accessible. This information was in books. This was in big business houses. This was supposed to be a certain way. Now you say it is available to everybody, and your books just so clearly sort of shout that. Tell me, this is like demystifying the whole building blocks and making it simpler for people. You say cut the BS out of the business.
Yes.
And I believe you've been very successful, because I've read your books and learned a whole lot, and there are a lot of people out there with your following, people hear that. So why is it important to cut how will the business work if there's no BS?
Well, the more salient question is, how can the business world work if there is so much BS?
Right, I should have asked that.
There is. The extreme of that example right now is the American presidential election. It is is, BS 10 feet deep. I mean, there's very little truth at all in this.
And what's going on?
So, do you think the candidates are particularly effective? Not at all, right? I don't know. This is obviously an American example, so if people are not familiar with what's going on in America, it might not be so helpful. But
No, we're watching, and I think there is a lot of hoopla and a lot of surface stuff, which boils down to BS sometimes.
Yes.
So
yes.
I get that. So, Guy, tell us about Canva. Now you're the chief evangelist of Canva. It is revolutionizing design space. My kids can do it. It's like play the puzzle, build your design. So, why was it important to have Canva when there are so many, the ample design companies, they're making it look awfully complicated? Why do you want to go pierce that?
Yeah, well, because just like my major meshes of simplification, Canva simplifies design. So rather than having to rent or buy an expensive piece of software, or also learning that expensive piece of software, now anybody can come to canva.com, pick the template that they want, customize it a little, and in roughly 5 minutes they'll have a great graphic design.
Absolutely.
And that's a very hard thing to do.
Right, I understand that, and it costs so much. If you go to a design company, it costs hell of a lot of money. So yes,
Canva costs nothing.
Yeah, so Canva is no cost at all. So it's great. In your book, Art of the Start, Guy, when it comes to seeking support, and this is what you really sort of emphasized over there, whether from investors, whether from your stakeholders, you talk about catalyzing fantasy or catalyzing solutions, both for raising money and interest. Now, what are some of the things that people can take away from this conversation that a new entrepreneur must either always say or must never say?
So I think a lot of entrepreneurs want to do a bottom, I think a lot of entrepreneurs want to do a top-down analysis where they say, there are 300 million Americans, 1 in 4 owns a dog, 75 million dogs, each dog eats 2 cans of dog food per day, it's 150 million cans of dog food per day that's sold. And they try to do this like sort of mathematical, statistical thing where they prove that there's a large market, or they're proving that they'll be successful. And I think that rather than trying to do this and march people down this line of reasoning, it's much better to enable people to come up with their own fantasy about how your product is so interesting. So, for example, with Canva, I could tell you, not that I know these facts because I never go down this path, and I could tell you that every day, there's 10 million graphics created around the world. So if we could just get 10% of those graphics, we'd have 1 million graphics a day, and times 365 days, 365 million graphics a year. Or I can simply tell you that in less than 5 minutes, you will have great graphics.
Right.
And if I convince you of that, then I think you can fantasize that, oh my God, and anybody can create great graphics in less than 5 minutes.
Right.
There's a humongous market for Canva.
Right. I believe you because I use Canva myself. My children use it. So yeah, I've done my Twitter pages with that, while my son did it. So very interesting. Now this brings me to a very crucial part of business and life today, and the ability and capacity to sell. Now that word is almost misunderstood. It has been misconceptualized in the eyes of people, and it also lies down in creating the right kind of impact and influence. Your first job was in a jewelry store, you say, and I've read that story about you so many times. The biggest lesson you learned over there was selling. You said It's easy to sell computers. It is difficult to sell jewelry. Now, this word, I really want you to sort of let people see this word in a good light, in a light that does not, because I come from the personal development industry. Not just do I sell products, I sell myself as a product. Now, it is very, very, sometimes very difficult and misunderstood. So tell us more about selling in the positive side.
Well, so I think that, basically, every day of your life, you're selling. Now, you might not be selling vacuum cleaners, or you might not be selling computers, but you're selling something. You're trying to convince people to come on your show. You're trying to convince people to let you come on their show. Right. You're trying to convince people to use Canva. You're trying to convince a reservation clerk to give you a non-smoking room. You're trying to convince an airline person to give you a free upgrade to first class. I mean, everything is about sales. And the extreme is, of course, when you apply for a job.
Right.
Applying for a job, you are selling yourself. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
Right.
And so selling is a very crucial skill.
Right.
And it is something you use literally every day. So
I think
people should get over that.
Right. I think you have to sell even discipline to your children to make it look like something worth it.
The hardest skill of all.
Yeah, the hardest skill of all. True. So carrying this art of selling and making the viewer, see the upside of it, the way communication has become today, it's so open and it's so transparent that, the element of personal branding comes in. You always vouch for the fact that authenticity, who you are, what you stand for, becomes your personal brand. So not just if you're in a job or if you're outside, anywhere. And that's why your whole social media, raising the bar with social media, and how detailed you get into your avatar, your pictures, the font you use, the size of the font you use in your presentations. It's all become so important and so easy to do. Now, combine for us, please, the idea of selling and personal branding and why it is an absolute must today.
Well, I have to tell you, I object more to the term personal branding than I do to the word selling.
Right.
I think personal branding implies that you sit down one day and you decide, so I'm going to manufacture my...
No, not the ad company manufacturing branding. I'm talking about like being the authentic person that you are because you're so visible.
No, but yeah. I got to tell you something. So, a lot of people say be authentic.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But if you think about it, literally, what if you're stupid?
Right.
What if you're a jerk? Right? Should you be authentic? Because if you're an authentic person and you're a jerk, you act like a jerk.
Right.
And stupid and you're authentic, you act stupid.
Right.
So is Donald Trump authentic? Probably. Would you say that he's doing a good sales job? Not at all. So, be careful. This whole talk about open and transparency and authentic, that assumes like everybody's unicorns and pixie dust and everybody's wonderful. That is not the case.
Right.
Use a clothing analogy. You would not want to see many people naked.
Right. Right.
Right?
Right.
So, I think many times people take personal branding as this way to put lipstick on a pig.
Right.
And they're gonna hide their flaws and do all this kind of stuff.
Right.
So the problem is lipstick on a pig still has a pig.
Pig behind it, right?
Yeah. So what you need to do is first fix the reality.
Right.
And if you fix the reality, everything else is easy and will come naturally.
Right.
But if you're trying to do personal branding and put lipstick on a pig, you will fail.
Absolutely. So I think that there's a difference between authenticity as the way we look at, but being real and being the right real. So you got to move out of being a pig and be probably a better pig who doesn't need a lipstick. So I think that's probably good. So Guy, you built a massive community and popularized the word evangelism marketing. Now you've built it's like a cult. It's like a Guy cult coming out there. It's your own religion. So how did you come to use this word for business and brought it to the ground and this whole concept of turning your customers into raving fans? It started with Macintosh and you used it yourself.
Evangelism comes from Greek words that mean bringing the good news.
Right.
So what an evangelist does is bring the good news about a product or service. I brought the good news of Macintosh. It empowered people.
Right.
I'm bringing the good news of Canva. Canva democratizes design. So evangelism is all about bringing good news. And the key to evangelism is to have good news. Because if you have good news, it's easy. If you don't have good news, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Right. So in your book, Art of the Start, you have used, at one place I read, because I work around women's leadership, and you've got a place which says Darwin Award, which says that if you were to go find about your product, if it is viable or not, go and speak with women. They have more common sense when talking about a product. I love to hear that because we don't hear that very often. So when we are researching on the viability of product, we must check with women. Would you want to elaborate on that? I'd love to hear that on my show.
Yeah, I think that women are a better judge of new products and services because men have a predisposition to wanting to kill things. So they want to kill plants, they want to kill animals, they want to kill people, they want to kill countries, they want to kill products, companies, services, everything. So basically, because men always like to kill things, they always think that every idea is good because you always say, I'm going to kill Microsoft, I'm going to kill Apple, I'm going to kill YouTube, I'm going to kill Facebook, I'm going to kill General Motors, right? But women don't have this fundamental genetic flaw. So that's why I think you get a much better analysis of the viability of your product or service by asking women than men.
Sure, I believe that's true. So I've authored a book on leadership for women where I have clearly, like, I've followed your example. I've taken your as a role model in some form, and I said, okay, let's get leadership out of the books. Let's get on the ground. Let's get real, and let's cut the crap. We see lesser women out there still, and I remember speaking with you earlier, and you talked about their nurturing tendencies, which you just said right now. What, according to you, is the reason, and that they're not there out so many in numbers? I know what kind of difficulties I face. And what do you think they can do? And I'm referring back to an update I read on your page on Facebook, which said, come on, women, get up, get some ovaries out there. So I love that. And I use that sometimes. Tell me more about that. What do you think?
I think a lot of what women have to overcome is because of the stupidity of men. So, yeah, there's a lot of stupidity.
I agree.
So, we have to go back a long time in history to fix that problem.
Right.
And, honestly, it could be that many women have decided that raising children is more important than building a company to kill another company.
Exactly. Raising children is always more important. And I think now the time has come that we're trying to sort of push those zones, and we know we can do better with doing both. So very, very interesting.
So listen, I don't consider myself a feminist, okay? Don't get me wrong.
No.
I'm not all unicorns and pixie dust either. But what I consider myself is a believer in meritocracy.
Right.
So I don't think it should be because of your race, your creed, your sexual orientation, your color, your religion.
Right.
I don't think it should be any of that. I think it should be based on merit.
Right. And I think there is no need for feminism or masculinity in this world, if I can say so. I think we need to boil down to bringing out the human potential, be it men or women, and doing the good stuff around here. So, Guy, tell me, you always use this word, rebooting the mind.
Yeah.
Innovation, adapting to change. And like Steve Jobs says, if you can't adapt to change, you probably are unintelligent. So a lot of people are stuck in that place. So reboot the mind, reboot your life. Do not reboot the mind. You may have to reboot your entire living. So tell us about the need for this growth mindset and why are we still stuck? I mean, there's so much happening around the world, but still people fight over staying stuck in the same place.
Well, because for many people and many companies, the status quo is perfectly adequate, if not good. And so if the status quo is good, I mean, if you're making one thing that's doing fairly well, if you're running a taxi cab company and it's doing well, what's the motivation for embracing Uber?
Right.
There is none.
There is none.
On the other hand, if you are Uber and you don't have any installed base, you don't have any history, you can do what is best at the time using the current technology.
Right.
So a lot of it is, it's the garbage that you carry.
Mm-hmm. Right. So let me bring you to the fun part a little bit. I've read about you that you said you lived in complete and utter fear of Steve Jobs. So he's not there. We've all read about him. We know Apple. So bring Steve Jobs alive for us today. Just a little bit of him. Let's see who Steve Jobs was.
Yeah, so one day I'm working in my cube, and he brings somebody I never met before, and he asks me about a company, and I say, well, the company's mediocre, the products suck, they don't take advantage of graphics, color, video, anything like that. So after I go on this diatribe telling him how the products and company sucks, he says, well, this is the CEO of the company. So that's life with Steve Jobs.
I get that. So I know what it must have been like. So tell me in a couple of words, because you're about empowering people and making it simple. In few words, who's Guy? What is his breakout mantra?
Guy's mantra is to empower people. I want to empower people with Canva. I want to empower people with Wikipedia. I don't know if I can say I empower people with Mercedes-Benz. I just happen to love cars.
No, if I get one, I will feel empowered.
Okay. And I want to empower people with my writing and my speaking.
Yes, you do that. You absolutely do that. You absolutely do that. Your books
That's my mantra. I empower people.
Right, lovely. So thank you very much, Guy, for your time. I really appreciate it for you coming down and sharing with us your thoughts. I got a peep into your mind a little bit. Thank you so much.
Scary thought.
Scary
Thank
thoughts,
you.
yes. You're not scary. You're not scary. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.